Hello, Washington Commanders fan. Get ready for an analysis that will leave you speechless because you're about to discover how the chances of losing one of our top assistant coaches have just increased drastically. But this could bring us two valuable compensatory picks that will change our draft. But it doesn't stop there. Let's dive into the crucial interview happening in Washington with Daronte Jones, revealing why he may be the key to transforming our defense in 2026. And there's more. You'll meet the secret superstar of the Commanders in 2025 that nobody is talking about. A player who has recovered from a devastating injury and has become our offensive anchor. The Washington Commanders are in search of their next defensive coordinator, but they may also have another vacancy to fill if they lose one of their top assistant coaches soon. As a fan who follows every move of the offseason, I know this is a delicate situation that could benefit us in unexpected ways. The Commanders have already promoted David Blau to new offensive coordinator, who will lead an offense for the first time in his career as a young and promising coach. Keeping as many experienced coaches on the offense as possible will be crucial for the success of a young offense next year, and we all know that. The run game coordinator, Anthony Lynn, has been a hot name this offseason and has earned another interview for a head coach position in the AFC, which could be a big loss for the Commanders, but it also brings a significant reward that we cannot ignore. Anthony Lynn is being interviewed for the head coach position of the Cleveland Browns, and this news leaves me with mixed feelings. Lynn has already caught the interest of the Buffalo Bills as a potential head coaching candidate, and now the Cleveland Browns have also interviewed him for an open position. The Browns have a close connection with Lynn, as the former general manager of the Los Angeles Chargers, Tom Telesco, acted as a consultant in the search for a new head coach. Telesco was the general manager of the Chargers when Lynn was the head coach from 2017 to 2020, so there's a real connection there. The Browns have been unable to hire several head coaching candidates and may opt to hire Lynn as head coach, keeping Jim Schwartz as defensive coordinator. It would be a major loss for the Commanders' coaching staff, but it would also bring an immediate reward that could be well worth it. The Commanders would receive two compensatory picks if Anthony Lynn were hired as head coach, and that's huge. The Commanders' coaching staff would become much younger on offense, but would also be rewarded with two third-round picks for the 2026 and 2027 NFL drafts. The NFL's Rooney Rule grants two third-round picks to a team that loses a minority assistant coach to another team. This is obviously very relevant, considering the Commanders only have 6 picks in the 2026 NFL Draft, and only 2 within the top 75, with no second and fourth-round picks. As a fan, I know we desperately need more draft capital to rebuild our roster. Now there are 2 possible destinations for Lynn to leave as head coach, so the odds are higher than ever. It would be a silver lining to be rewarded with those 2 picks that could help us build a winning team. They would, however, have to find a new run game coordinator, which is a lesser task considering the current search for a new defensive coordinator. It's a situation where losing could mean winning, and as a fan, I'm hoping Lynn gets the job while also hoping he stays. And now, get ready to dive into the crucial interview that is taking place. You will discover who Daronte Jones is and why he might be exactly what we need to transform our defense in 2026, bringing a new philosophy and proven experience. Daronte Jones has been one of the most sought-after candidates for defensive coordinator in this coaching cycle. The current air game coordinator for the Vikings defense is now on another team's radar that desperately needs a defensive coordinator, and that team is us. Jones will be interviewed today by the Commanders for the defensive coordinator position, according to Tom Pelissero from NFL Network. This makes Washington the 5th team to schedule an interview for the role, demonstrating how valued he is in the league. The list of candidates for the Commanders is also further expanding, giving us more choices to pick from. Joe Witt was relieved of his duties as offensive coordinator midway through the 2025 season, and as a fan, I remember the frustration I felt. After head coach Dan Quinn's decision, there was widespread expectation that the relationship between the two would come to an end at the season's conclusion. Indeed, Witt was fired earlier this month, and it was time to move on. The Commanders also opted to replace offensive coordinator Cliff Kingsbury and sought an internal name, promoting David Blau to the position. An internal change to replace Witt is not expected, as only external candidates have been considered thus far, which makes sense. Jones, 47, is the second member of the Vikings staff to be interviewed by Washington, after Brian Flores met with the Commanders 2 weeks ago. Jones, who was born in Capitol Heights, Maryland, has been with the Vikings for 5 seasons. He has served in his current role during the 3 years Flores has been in Minnesota, which demonstrates trust. Everything indicates that Flores will continue as defensive coordinator for at least 1 more season, and if that is confirmed, Jones will certainly be a strong candidate to remain in the position. However, the door is still open for Jones to receive an opportunity as defensive coordinator. As a local fan, I would love to have someone from Maryland leading our defense and bringing pride to the region. Jones's experience working with Flores, one of the best defensive coordinators in the NFL, is invaluable and could greatly benefit us. He has learned from the best and is now ready to implement his own system in Washington. And now, to close with a flourish, let's reveal who the Commanders' secret superstar was in 2025. You will discover how Sam Cosmi bounced back from a devastating injury and became our offensive anchor, and why 2026 will be even better. The Washington Commanders had few reasons to celebrate in 2025, but the successful rehabilitation and return of offensive lineman Sam Cosmi was one of the few bright spots. As a fan who watched every game, I can say that Cosmi was a light at the end of the tunnel in a dark season. Even with his season ending on injured reserve, Cosmi is expected to be able to complete a full offseason program without issues. This gives the Commanders hope that he will return to form in 2026 and be ready to help the team turn things around from last season. According to Zach Tantillo from Pro Football Focus, Cosmi not only performed well upon his return to Washington, but was also the team's secret star in the 2025 NFL season. After recovering from a torn ACL injury at the end of last season, Cosmi returned to his best form, becoming one of Washington's most consistent players in 2025. He finished as the third highest graded offensive player on the team with a 76.4, earning grades above 72.0 in both pass blocking and run blocking, wrote Tantillo. Cosmi allowed only 11 pressures and 2 sacks during the season and ended the year with 6 consecutive games without allowing any pressure, continued Tantillo. These numbers are simply impressive for someone who was recovering from such a serious injury. As expected, after such a devastating injury, Cosmi needed a few games to find his rhythm after returning to the field in Week 7 against the Dallas Cowboys. However, after allowing 7 pressures and 2 sacks in his first 2 games back, Cosmi allowed only 4 pressures and no sacks for the remainder of the season. This shows his determination and ability to improve consistently throughout the season. Cosmi's stabilizing presence also helped rookie Josh Conerly Jr., who had 28 pressures recorded by PFF before Week 9 against the Seattle Seahawks. Although the final outcome wasn't what the team hoped for, Cosmi had his first truly solid performance in that game, and Conerly benefited, allowing only 2 pressures and not permitting any sacks. In the nearly 6 complete games where the two played together, once the veteran blocker found his rhythm, Conerly allowed only 11 of his 43 total pressures. The 11 pressures allowed by Cosmi in 2025 were the fewest given up by a guard with at least 300 pass blocking snaps this season, and he finished 13th among 68 eligible guards in pass blocking efficiency. Why the 2026 version will be even better is the question we all want to know. I asked the player early in his return to games about the feelings shared by other players who have suffered injuries and gone through similar rehabilitation processes. At the time, Cosmi agreed that while being on the field was great in itself, he certainly still did not feel like himself and believed that the second year would be what brought him back to his best. If the first year after the injury is any indication, Washington will have an even better version of Cosmi back in 2026, and that fills me with hope. Just that fact alone will be crucial in helping the Commanders win more games again, and should also contribute to Conerly having a solid second season in the NFL. As a fan, I can hardly wait to see Cosmi at his best protecting Jayden Daniels. So, fan, after hearing about the increased chances of losing Anthony Lynn but gaining 2 valuable compensatory picks, discovering that Durante Jones will be interviewed in Washington and could bring the winning mentality from the Vikings, and learning the inspiring story of Sam Cosmi as a secret superstar in 2025, which of these news makes you most hopeful for the future? Do you believe it's worth losing Lynn to gain 2 third-round picks? Or is his experience irreplaceable for David Blau? And more importantly, do you think Durante Jones has what it takes to be our next defensive coordinator and turn the worst defense in the league into a competitive unit? Or should we aim for someone with more experience calling plays? Leave your opinion in the comments. I want to know what you think about the future of the Washington Commanders.